What is up, everybody? Sven Diesel here. This is the Polliwog Leech. If you're into catching smallmouth bass and a few trout, this is the fly for you. We're going to start with a FireHole 4.0 slotted tungsten bead. I like to set my hook in the vise like this, makes it a little bit easier to get your bead on, and then we'll just adjust it into the regular tying position. This is an Ahrex FW550 in the vise. We're going to go ahead and adjust our slotted bead so it sits down right behind the eye. We'll go ahead and give it the ping test to make sure that our hook is in the vise. We're going to be using some Semperfli. This is some classic wax thread in an 8/0 in a hot orange. We're going to start right here behind the bead, work our way down with about 5 wraps, and then go back towards the bead. I'll go back down about 8 wraps, go back up towards the bead, and then we'll do it one more time. Each time I'm building up a little bit of a taper. This is a thread ramp so that our bead just kind of stays put. You can also achieve this using some lead wraps, but we'll work our way all the way to the bend of the hook, and then I'll advance back up to the point. We have now a nice thread base, and for this particular fly, we are going to be using from Spawn Fly Fish these Polliwog tails. This is in the color olive. I fished it in a few different colors: black, purple, olive, golden olive, I believe, and they just hold up really well. I think I fished one fly all day and had killer results. So they kind of have a double taper. I'm going to use kind of the thicker end as the tail section. I'm going to trim a little bit off, making sure that my polywog goes for the whole shank, nearly the whole shank of the fly, and then I'll wrap my wraps down, securing it in place. I trim a little bit off because I found that I had a little bit of fouling with it being extra long for this size hook. This is a size 6. If you're using a larger hook, I don't think you'd have that issue, but this is what we fished and had really good luck with. As you can see, I've formed now a dubbing loop, and I'm going to go ahead and put my tool in. I advance my thread up behind the eye, and then we're going to go ahead and do a little whip finish here just to secure it. We'll bring around our bobbin rest and get our thread out of the way with our bobbin. Now for the body of this fly, we're going to be using some Arizona Simi Mega. The Mega is the longer of the Simi branded dubbing, and I'm going to use a few different colors. This is olive, and this is kind of the Canadian olive, and we're going to go ahead and take those two. I'm going to take a larger clump of the darker and a smaller clump of the olive, and we're going to mix that up. As you can see, I'm just blending them in my hand, and as I'm doing so, I'm kind of stacking these fibers so that they're naturally kind of aligned, and that way when we put it into our dubbing loop here, it's going to be a little bit easier to brush it out. They'll flow a little bit better and be a little bit more uniform in length. So I'll go ahead and just spread those out. Super easy to do. If you haven't played around with dubbing loops, it's a super effective way to make a durable body out of lots of different materials. But we'll spin that up, and then here's the key. You can see how it's kind of a twisted mess. Don't wrap that yet. Go ahead and brush it out. You're going to pull a little bit of dubbing out depending on which brush you're using. This is a stainless steel brush, but I'm just holding my finger and brushing where my finger is. That does a couple things. It protects the thread, and it also kind of limits the amount of material that you pull out, in my opinion. Now for any of my leeches, we're going to be using some super glue as the underbody. I like to use this to bond the thread to the polywog, and then also I'm applying it now because I want this dubbing to go into that super glue so that it's going to make it even more durable of a fly. Now we're just going to go ahead and start wrapping this around. You can take your time and preen these fibers back if you really want to, but we're going to brush it pretty aggressively. And to be honest, I like them a little slimmer, and so I'm not too concerned about getting everything back. I will pull some of these fibers out when brushing it. And so we'll go ahead now, bring our thread up and over, and I got to get this bobbin rest out of my way, but we'll hold our dubbing loop up, and then we'll do a wrap behind, and then bring our thread in front with a couple wraps, and then go behind again, and that way we are basically tying off our dubbing loop. And it helps if you don't have a camera between you and you have a little bit more room to work with. But we secured that. I'll trim it out, and now we are pretty much almost done with this fly. It's super easy, and we'll just build a collar on this. Now I use generally a hot orange or a red for most of my leech patterns, depending on which color scheme I'm going for this one. I found that orange tends to work best, but you know, prove me wrong. And we'll go ahead and do a 3-turn whip finish and a secondary one because I want to really hammer this through some rocks and use it, you know, one fly for the whole day and catch tons of fish. And so durability is key. We'll go ahead and pull that thread up, snip it on top. We're going to be using some Solarez bone dry. This is the Ultra Plus. It apparently bonds as it soaks in. It's going to be cured layers down from what's not being seen, and so that's kind of a cool innovative product. I've had luck with bone dry for years, and I love finishing my flies with it. And so we'll go ahead and cure that for the 10 to 15 seconds. And the last step, and make sure you secure your fly before you're doing this, because I've forgotten to put the resin on and then I've brushed my thread and broke it. So make sure you secure that with some sort of head cement, or as I use, the bone dry, and then we'll go ahead and brush forward, brush back. And I love just kind of right now shaping this fly as I've brushed these fibers back. And there we go. That is the Polliwog Leech. Super easy, super effective. I literally fished one all day and didn't have any issues with it. These tails are super durable. Tie some up in your favorite colors and fish them because they work. So thanks for watching.